ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Vato.
I feel like I'm old.
With the music. Please hold for the show. I'm just updating paulvato.com. And then this way, people can come. Oh, you're already on camera. You know what? It's only fair that I also turn on my video.
Hello.
I like your background a lot better than mine. Look at that. I love it. Let's end.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Woo! Make it stop!
There are sound effects, laughing, applause. If you don't like them, if they bother you, and we can shut them off. So you tell me what you like or what you want to, how you want to do this.
Something tells me they're not real.
No, it's people in the audience,
That's ridiculous.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So they can applaud, they can laugh, they can. They had a poop emoji. I think they might still have it, but it doesn't make the sound anymore, which is nice.
So people audience are pooping themselves.
Well, if I say something that's inappropriate, like I'm sometimes prone to do, they'll throw up a little poop emoji. I don't think, you know what? Maybe they removed it. Oh no, It's still there. And there's a chat room. People can leave us messages. So that's what I like about this, because there's video. It's automatically saved, so we can always download it and repurpose it for content. But I thought you might have a problem getting on, but look at you.
People love the idea of repurposing for some reason.
Yeah, because you record, it's evergreen. You record it once, and then you can chop it up and reuse it. And, because there's so many platforms, that. There's so many platforms that it's nice to record something once and be able to use it often, I guess,
And I'm sure whatever is said is going to be so golden. We're going to want to repurpose it and keep it and hold it and forever. What's that about?
I think that's the party hat. Yes, that sound. That's the party hat. And again, if it bothers you, I can always mute them. So if it becomes too much, we can always. But it's nice because you have audience interaction. I think it helps with the algorithm, if you will. Because they're like, 100% of the people really responded well to your show, and then and then Mark Cuban might see us and then give us some money. I don't know. He's one of the investors, one of the owners. So I guess we should start the show. Naomi, thank you so much for taking time to be here.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
Wonderful. Well, I feel like we should just introduce you. I think everyone, knows who you are. But more importantly, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I know that you were just filming, and I can't wait to do a little bit of a dive. And you tell me, how much time we have. I think we have an hour, but if it's quicker, you just let me know, because I know that you're a very busy person. So again, thank you for being here. And where should we start, Naomi? Where would you like to start? Do you want to just introduce yourself?
No, it's your show, wherever you want to start.
Well, I'd like to start close to the beginning. I know that you're from Denver. Is it Denver? I know you're from Colorado, or is it Denver, yes. Colorado? But then you wound up in Chicago, or in the Chicagoland area. So maybe what was that like growing up in Denver? And then also, of course, I almost forgot I was going to start the whole show in Spanish. Never mind. So, gracias por estar aquí, Naomi. I think if anything, you could teach me Spanish. I'm guessing because you taught Spanish for a while. But so tell me a little bit about just growing up in Denver, and then how maybe you got into acting, or if that's something you always wanted to do. And then we can kind of move to the maybe Chicago years, and then your great success on stage and television, and the shows that you've written and the TV shows that you've been on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, not a ton of Spanish speakers in Denver. But my parents lived in Colombia actually, and they were original Peace Corps volunteers. And so I grew up in this very just kind of cultured home. We watched exclusively Sunday Morning with Charles Kuralt and Cosmos with Carl Sagan. So, if it wasn't like astronomy, it was poetry. You know what I mean? It was very like highbrow. And as a result, I kind of grew up just like always wanting to be like have my own sitcom because it was sort of this forbidden fruit, My dad was an architect. My mom was a pianist. And I'm an only child. So, I was a little bit of an odd duck in Denver. People always say like, "Oh, I love Denver so much," and I don't know. I didn't. I don't agree. But that's only because I went to like a really mean high school, and I'm sure all the mean girls are listening. But I just it was quite white bread and very basic, a lot of basic bitches. And while hilarious, I know. While I was whatever. I feel like I'm in therapy right now. Basically, I was always like a very, very kind of go-getter kid, and I was in all the plays and all the, won all the awards and was all the thank you, yes, Olympics of the mind, student council, school play, marching band, cheerleading, piano, voice, on-camera acting. I mean, you name it. Spanish club. I was a president. And so by my senior year, well, not even my junior year, I was like over it. Like I'd already kind of won everything already. And I had to get out of there. So I became an exchange student, and I lived for a year in Argentina. And that's really where I learned Spanish. I thought I knew everything when I was, Spanish club president, but I got there and I was just like, Machu Picchu, everybody. That was a joke. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, right? That's more like
good.
it.
Good.
So what I think is interesting is that was the one year that I did something other than acting. Like I'd always been very focused as a kid. I mean, while I had my focus split by all the other activities that the school offered, I was always like, I always knew I wanted to be an actor. Like I said, my folks were great about exposing me to culture. We went to the ballet and the symphony and the opera and the theater and the cinema and you name it. And I just always remember kind of looking up there on stage, just wishing I was one of them. Like I just wanted to be up there. And so I think when I got there. Anyway, when I did, now what? What did that mean?
It's a party. It's a party.
Oh, it's a party now. Yeah, because we're in Argentina and the drinking age, there is no drinking age, and I'm 18. And everyone looks like, what's that?
And it's kind of accepted, right? The drinking and the partying in Argentina. I mean, if you're under 18.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I don't know. It didn't, I don't know. For some reason, that was just sort of accepted. Like, I remember that very first weekend that I went out with like the kids in my class, the girls, and I remember coming home at like 6 a.m. and thinking, "Oh my God, they're gonna send me home," and like I'm like, "This is it." I lasted like a week in Argentina, and sure enough, I got home, and my host father was like, "Hey, how was it?" And I was just like, "Wait, really? Okay." And that was just life, like, they just go out until 6 a.m. when they're 18 years old. It's not weird at all. Yeah, exactly like that. But anyway, whatever. The point is, I really kind of filled my well that year. I like I said, I like had a life for the first time, I think. And don't get me wrong, I still, upon the year's end, I returned to the United States and went straight to Chicago, where I was a theater major at Northwestern, which was, again, like eyes on the prize, because and at that point I was really like with my people, because the kids at Northwestern are very driven, super motivated. I mean, I always kind of wondered, like, am I filling a quota? Because while I was in Argentina, my parents actually moved to Taos, New Mexico. So I always thought, you know what? They probably don't have enough kids from New Mexico here. So that's how I got in. But anyway, I definitely felt like I found my place at NU. But it was nice too to know, like, there was more out there, and I think, and that's one thing that kids that go straight to, a conservatory or whatever don't realize. Like, I'm really glad I had that opportunity to just go out and go out, to experience being one of the only women in a soccer game, experience, the southernmost city in the world, experience, homesickness, and experience, falling in love for the first time with an entire soccer team. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I think that was like a really formative year, and it's like, honestly, like, informed every aspect of my life. Like, from once I got home, and I know the irony is you were asking about Denver, then you're asking about Chicago. I've told you nothing about either except Argentina. But that year has followed me ever since. Like, I mean, I had no idea, like, from the guys I date to, the survival odd jobs I've had to hold. I mean, I was a Spanish teacher at the Playboy Mansion, for God's sakes. I mean, you name it, like, in every way that sort of informed my life. And I mean, don't get me wrong, quitting my job at the Playboy Mansion and just quit ditching the day job to begin with is really like the greatest thing that ever happened to me in terms of success. Like, there's marks of success, and being able to buy a place in West Hollywood, for God's sakes, that's huge. And then be able to, like, fill it with fan art of yourself, also huge. But being able to, like, like I said, quit that day job, that doesn't get any bigger. But
amazing. And I think you put it out there, so I'm going to ask you, if there's anything you don't want to talk about, by all means, just let me know. But there's a rich history where you live, is there not? The place that you bought, the I don't know if it's a condo or a home.
Yeah, I happened to buy Peter Lawford's last residence, and don't get me wrong, like, we here at this, in this condo association, treat it like, like these were his glory days, like, we call it the Lawford. And in the meantime, like, if you read his bio, like, this is where he came to die. These were like he lived here 1 year, and it was like the worst year of his life. Like, he spent some of it actually at the Betty Ford Center, where he had cocaine, like, helicoptered in. So, he wasn't trying to get better. He was just holding on until he died, not inside, but although he does visit me every now and then, If we're lucky, the lights will flicker, and he's a good ghost, though. He's very, very
good, wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. And I don't think I'm going to
Neighbor
just let.
actually next door, and just last night as I was coming home, I met her for the first time, and I told her all about it. I know she thinks I'm a complete loon, telling her about the ghost.
Now, I don't want you to just gloss over, because I didn't know. I knew that you taught Spanish. I did not know that you taught it at the Playboy Mansion. And maybe I'm, glorifying this, and as I'm sure all the perverts in the audience are. But if you want to talk a little bit about that, well, were you teaching the Playmates Spanish, or is that you were doing?
Specifically Bridget. If you ever remember that show, there was a show called The Girls Next Door. And it was like a reality show that followed the lives of Hugh Hefner's main 3 girlfriends. And Bridget was the smart one. And that was my student. It's not to say that Holly and Kendra were not, but, they all had like their persona. And I think the truth of it is that Holly was taking French. And so like Bridget needed a thing, and so she took Spanish. Anyway, we continue to be friends to this day. Like she's really big on Halloween, which is awesome because I am too. I mean, I've always just been into dressing up. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm not going anywhere today, and I don't. I'm gonna have to dry clean this after, just to sit here and talk to you on Zoom. But anyway, what I'm saying is I love Halloween, and so does she. And so we invariably, I become her kind of consummate +1 every October, and vice versa.
Wow. Amazing. Well, if you ever need a +2, let me know. I'm sure you get sure everybody offers that.
You're such a giver. Thank you so much you really take one for the team. I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely. That anything for you or a Playboy model, of course, 100%. I've only been with one, so I need to work on my numbers.
Right.
So there you go. So that's wonderful. What was Chicago like, and around, and if you don't mind saying like the year that was, and I guess what I'm trying to get to is, I know that some of my other friends that have now wound up on TV shows were also there at Northwestern, but I don't know if they were there around that same time. But a lot of, especially people that came out of the Second City, or wound up at Second City or ImprovOlympic after being, because they were at Northwestern. Was there anyone of note or friends of ours that you know of?
So I was there. Well, I was there 93 to 97. I lasted just 4 years because that's how long it took to go through school, and that's as much winter as I could handle. I know people think, oh, Denver, you're used to weather. No. It's not even the same thing. Like Denver, it'll be like snowing, and then you're like skiing in, Daisy Dukes and fresh powder and like 70 degrees weather, like later in the day. It's like, if you don't like the weather, like wait a half hour. If you don't like the weather in Chicago, good luck. Like it'll change in about 9 months, and it'll be excruciatingly hot. So yeah. No, I'm trying to think of who was there with me. Well, I can tell you, Zach Braff was in my class. Okay. From Scrubs. Seth Meyers was a year ahead of me, and his brother Josh. Yeah, his brother Josh was a year below. He was on Mad TV and among other things. You can imagine Christmas at that house.
Well, of course. And then I don't know if they were already friends with Ike Barinholtz, but Ike grew up in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
So I know Al and his father, who for the longest time had my headshot in his office, and Ike would just, I guess, look at it and go like, "Why do you have Votto's headshot in your office?" but it'd be interesting once I talk to them. I'd like to find out if they actually knew Ike while they were at Northwestern, because I knew that Seth
Did
and
he
Josh.
go there?
No, Ike didn't go to college, but he grew up in Chicago. So it'd be interesting to know if, at either ImprovOlympic or, when that whole group ended up at ImprovOlympic specifically, and then Second City. So,
I didn't do ImprovOlympic or Second City while I was in Chicago, and that's kind of a regret. Just because those were amazing, opportunities. I mean, I did do IO once I moved out to Los Angeles. When I was at school, I actually got involved with a theater called the Torso Theater, which, true Chicagoans will know, for Cannibal Cheerleaders on Crack, or Shannon Doherty Shoots a Porno. I was basically heading down to Bucktown to show my boobies every Friday, Saturday for, gosh, I don't know. Those were long-running shows. They ran for, years and years and years. I was only in them for maybe, a year and a half, which was a substantial amount of time, actually, Alexandra Billings, she's a name actor at this point. She, she was trans then, but trans really wasn't something we talked about then, but it is now. And she's an amazing advocate for the trans community, and people probably know her from Transparent. But also she was in Wicked recently on Broadway. She has a new book that just came out. So she was one of my contemporaries there at the Torso. It was, I remember every now and then, like, fraternity date parties would come and like rent us out. Like they'd come for the show. And I was like, oh, this is really awkward. Cause I was like showing my tits for, ZBT or whatever. And then, and invariably I'd like, hey, can I get a ride back to Evanston with you guys? Hey, why not?
Yeah, of course.
But, to be fair, these were comedies. Like I was never about, titillating, if you will. It was all just about, it was kind of like shock theater, and, no one was in the audience, like, getting off on what they saw, believe me. It was about, just being like outrageous, really. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that. There's a part of me that is totally outrageous.
Well, and I unfortunately I've not seen the shows that you've written, but I know that they're somewhat, the titles are titillating, I guess you could say. And a little bit of, with punnery, which I love. Great puns, and I know that some people think it's the lowest form of comedy or humor, but I love a good pun. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the shows, because I would imagine that's maybe then what took you to Edinburgh around that time. What was the first show then that you wrote and performed, and that was your production?
Yeah, so when I first moved out to LA, I was going to the back, get Backstage West every day, and submit my headshot, and I did that for like years, and got, of course, nowhere with that. And it was kind of 2 years in that I realized, like, this is ridiculous. Like, I got a degree from a very prestigious, university to pursue this thing, but what am I really doing with it? Like, I'm basically like going to the post office every day. Like, I'm a professional mailer is what I am, And so that's when I was like, okay, I just need to, like, I'm not being cast in a traditional way. So I just need to cast myself. And so that's when I got busy writing this show. The first show was called Girl in Argentine Landscape. And that's not necessarily as, salacious a title as you're probably referring to, but that particular show was, again, it was about that, kind of formative year I'd mentioned in Argentina. It's a coming of age story. It's my own sort of journey, metamorphosis from a big dork to a badass. And that show, I feel like while it didn't really open any doors in Hollywood per se, it definitely kept me in the game. Like it reignited my passion to be here and to do this. Like I'd kind of forgotten what it felt like to be on stage. And then all of a sudden I was back up there going like, wow, oh, this feels good. This is where I'm supposed to be. And that particular show, actually, I took to Chicago to a theater festival there. Also the LA Women's Theater Festival. I actually shot it and actually mounted like a subtitled version on the big screen in Argentina. And that was cool, to kind of a homecoming, to be like, thank you. Like, you guys did this for me. Anyway, I did that. And then
around what year, forgive me for interrupting, around what year are we talking about when this is happening then?
So that would have been like 2002, I think.
Okay.
And from there, I went on to the Groundlings, because at that point I realized, like, okay, I need to be creating, like, duh. So I got quite involved there, and I, went through all the levels and managed to go through the Sunday company, and I was eventually cut, and which of course felt just like doom and gloom. It was like, I'll never survive. And of course I did. And I laugh now. It's like, honestly, the list of successful comedians that were, caught from the Groundlings is way longer than the ones that ever made it. So, honestly, I think they did me a ginormous favor. It took me a while to see that, but I honestly, I came out of there, quite honestly, like, really down. I really managed to believe the director at the time, who, I'm not going to say her name, but she managed to convince me that I was completely worthless at this, and so I believed her, and that's when I started teaching Spanish kind of full time, because I was just like, okay, I need a job, I need a boyfriend, I need all the things that I've been denying myself, because I've been following this pipe dream, and don't get me wrong, that lasted like a year. Even then, I don't think the boyfriend lasted that long, but I realized like a year in, like, no, I need to be creating, like, what was I saying? I'm gonna.
You cut out momentarily. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a call. I didn't realize how that would work.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
but you're back. You're back.
I think it was about a year in that I realized, like, no, I need to be creating. Like, the fact that don't get me wrong, teaching Spanish actually really suited me. Like, for the first time ever, I had this like captive audience, they didn't realize I was basically like workshopping bits, so what if they were in Spanish? They were, I got to wear my own clothes, for God's sakes. And again, I like to dress, but so it was about a year in. That's when I started writing my second show, Carnival Knowledge. That's the one that you were referring to, has a suggestive title.
Suggestive title, but and sorry to interrupt again, but who was your model before I forget? So who was your model on your first show? The girl, the Argentine.
When you say model, you mean what kind of?
Isn't there a sexy photo on the cover on the front?
That's me.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because you were talking about not having a salacious. Is that the word? Salacious title? But
it doesn't have a salacious title, and even then, I don't know. I think of that. Okay. So if people are wondering, my naked back end is on the cover, and for that matter, it is on the cover of the Carnival Knowledge too, and you can see that all on my website. It's not a secret, which is just naomigrossman.net. But pardon the pun.
I'm sorry. Where is that?
naomigrossman.net.
Thank you.
But
don't leave out, guys. Stay for the podcast, and then you can go look at that.
Right. No, but I mean, obviously sex sells, and that was the thought behind that. But, the first show is actually set in an art gallery, and that image is art as far as I'm concerned. Like, you go to Florence and you see David, and it's not that different. I mean, he's got a different front side than I do, but from behind,
person. Yeah.
I mean, he's a boy and I'm a girl, but the point is, it's the human form. Carnival Knowledge, actually, it's a funny story behind that original picture. I was trying to take headshots with a guy, and he kept saying like, "Oh, we should do nudes. And I was like, yeah, calm down. And then he eventually he whipped out his book. Book is not a euphemism. He whipped out his book of nudes, and I was like, oh yeah, we should shoot nudes, because I just didn't realize, I didn't understand how talented he was. So sure enough, I ripped off all my clothes, and then we took that photo. I don't think I even used the headshots he took. Like, I hired him for headshots, and I don't know how that ended. Then of course my the other show, Carnival Knowledge, also features me kind of in it's actually like the Brazilian carnival, costume, which I was wearing that for a Halloween party, a Playboy mansion. And I had my neighbor at the time, shoot some, document this outfit. And that, again, it wound up on the cover, because I figure it's set in a carnival, it makes sense. So anyway, Carnival Knowledge, again, it was sort of born out of just my own desperation, because I needed to create. And, 9 months later, I was basically gave birth to my second. And that show, again, had a great reception here in LA. It was, and from there I went on to Edinburgh and was transferred to the West End in London. It's actually gone on to colleges all over the country, and it had a really nice life. Again, but I was still kind of like, okay, what's it going to take, Hollywood, you know what I mean? I've created these pieces. They've been all over the world. They've gotten, rave reviews and award nominations. I mean, you name it, but I'm still I still can't even go to the doctor with SAG insurance. And so, that I'm really, that American Horror Story really was by far my biggest break. I mean, it's not to say that I wasn't, what do they say? luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. And, I think I was ready. I think I'd been doing the work all along. Just that, opportunity took its sweet ass time coming around.
Well, yeah, and that's, I know maybe sometimes it's a little cliche, but everything happens for a reason, everything in due time, all that. But I like all those sayings because they seem to really ring true many times. And did you submit yourself for American Horror Story, or did you have an agent, or how did?
No, yeah, I did have an agent. He was it's funny, he was kind of a shyster, I'll be honest. Like, he was literally out of like Thousand Oaks or something. He was like Thousand Oaks is known for like finding meth and hiding bodies. Like, it's not a place, it's not exactly your like Hollywood Mecca. Anyway, I remember this guy like reaching out to me, and I didn't have an agent at the time. And I was like, who is this? And I Googled him. And of course I read like just all kinds of horrible things. And I passed. I said, no, thank you. I'm good. And then I remember I mentioned it to my best friend, and he was like, what are you doing? You should, it's like dating, like kiss a few frogs. Like, even if you're not going to marry the guy, like just have the experience. Like, and I thought, you know what, he's got a good point. So I went ahead and I reached back out to the agent, and I was like, you know what? I will take a meeting. Let's do it. And so we did. And I remember, he actually dropped a bunch of old Groundlings friends of mine's names. And because I had like, an hour and a half drive back, I had plenty of time to call them all and verify. And they all were like, yeah, he's going to make you take pictures that are super cheesy and, with a stethoscope and or whatever, he's going to do all that crap. He's going to get kickbacks from the photographer that he forces you to go to. Like, all that, like, just bottom feeder bull that, bad agents make you, the hoops they make you jump through. He did. And they said, like, you can count on that. However, I go out, I get auditions, like, what you gonna do? So I was like, meh. Again, you kiss a few frogs. Just because you sign with the guy doesn't mean you're like, with him forever. And I wasn't. I was with him for 1 year. And in that amount of year, don't get me wrong, he still was atrocious. I think he got me like maybe three auditions. His whole tactic was like just throwing actors at a, canvas and hoping somebody sticks. And I stopped. One of those 3 auditions was for American Horror Story. And, they were looking for 4 to 5 feet tall, possibly malformed actresses. And I am barely any of those things, but I am 5 feet of fun. So, I knew not to wear my highest of heels to that audition. And I remember being in the waiting room and seeing this just like sea of little people. And I thought, oh man, like I couldn't handle these people, but, who knew, as it turns out, I actually was a replacement, which is interesting. A lot of people don't know that, but they cast another person, a little person before me. And, they ended up, they realized, we need someone who is actually, proportionate. And she wasn't, and I am. So.
And I would imagine, and please correct me if I'm wrong, also an actor, and I'm not saying that they were not actors, but someone that has the chops, because you do such a brilliant character that Pepper is such a brilliant character, and the life that you've embodied there with Pepper it's amazing, and the whole arc and everything. It's amazing work, Naomi, and
thank you very much. I think that was. I'm not going to agree with you. Thank you. But in the audition, it consisted of a monologue of Jessica Lange's from season 1. And then they gave me a ball and they asked me to try to get them to play with them as if I were like, a 4-year-old. So obviously I was like lost in this audition because, it's not like theater where I might actually be cast to play a 4-year-old. Like, no, if I'm 37, I'm going to play, 32 to 45. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, so that was so I didn't quite know what they were up to. It wasn't until after I was cast. Well, actually, there was the callback, which consisted of a meeting with makeup where they basically like took a bunch of photos of me, which they then manipulated to see which would look the best with the makeup. But at that point, they had a few girls in to do this, and they knew any one of us could handle the demands of the role, theatrically. It was really just a matter of like who looked best. And I always love to remind myself that when I go to, when I do have auditions. Well, now we don't drive to auditions anymore. They're all virtual. But, I would invariably always like flagellate myself on the way home. Like, you suck. You didn't do it the way you prepared or whatever. And the fact is, like, half the time it comes down to like the bridge of your nose. You know what I mean? Like, if you look like the director's ex-wife, forget it. It don't matter. You could be Meryl Streep and you're still not going to get that part. So.
I've heard that story. They're like, oh no, you actually look like his ex-wife and they didn't want you. Like, what? Like, yeah.
You look like someone's ex-wife?
No, I heard the story about, and she was a model and beautiful. No, I heard the story about an actress that lost out, because she looked like, the ex-girlfriend or ex-wife of the producer or the director. And it's ridiculous. It could be anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I did, when I got my first role, like as a masked Mexican wrestler, they wanted to hire wrestlers first, but they weren't actors. And then they brought us in, and it was the same thing. You never know what's going to happen. I'm sure I've gotten parts that weren't initially for me, and I've lost parts and I don't say I lost them. They weren't mine to begin with. So, I think that's the way we as actors have to look at it.
Of course. Which actually leads me to something that you and I have talked about, because you'd said initially when you said, oh, come on to my show, we'll promote your yoga warrior, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's mine. I don't know if that's mine to win. I'll be honest.
Well, we have people here, and maybe they can help because we have a few more days for that. Would you mind sharing that with?
Sure.
I was about to ask you about your yoga.
Here's the thing. I already shared with you that when I hit rock bottom, that's when I get creative, because don't get me wrong. I invariably, I start like organizing my junk drawer. I start like doing anything and everything instead of like sitting down to write. I mean, that's kind of typical like writer MO. But sure enough, during the pandemic, listen, I didn't bake bread and do puzzles and all that bullshit like most all people. But I did, think about, Whitney Houstoning myself in my bathtub. Like I was in a dark place. And the thing that really like got me through was when I got creative once again, I just got to work and I wrote this new one-woman show. It's the third in the trilogy and the evolution of Naomi Grossman. It's called American Horror Story. This one does not have a nice booty shot on the cover, unfortunately.
Not interested then.
Not interested. No, it does have it's a really cool image. It's actually me, very sexy looking, looking down into a mirror, and the picture, the face is looking back at me as Pepper. And It's basically, I mean, yes, it's a convenient title given my relationship with the show, but it's about that. It's literally, it is my whore story. And when I say whore, I don't mean promiscuous whore. I already wrote that show. That was Carnival Knowledge. This is hustler whore. This is sort of an autobiographical anthology chronicling my tales of self-compromise. All the ways I've sort of like sold myself out. And I think I've maybe done it again in this stupid yoga warrior vote. So basically, everybody, so you know what I'm talking about, these things take money. It costs money. And especially now, because, back when I did Carnival Knowledge and Girl in Argentine Landscape, I basically, whatever money I didn't use to like eat or pay rent with, I just, rented a theater and put up these shows. This, I have much bigger sites for this one. I want to sell this to a Netflix. I want this to be on Hulu, Amazon, Peacock, you name it. And I don't see why not. Like, everybody else has a 1-hour comedy special. Why not me? Especially since that's now a thing. Like, we're watching those. We're cooped up in our houses and we're watching them. So I've written this show, and but of course, because it needs to be, broadcast quality, it's going to cost some money. And so I thought, what better way than to win the money? I heard about this competition, and at first, it seemed like a popularity contest because the person with the most votes wins. And that's how it was kind of going for a while for me, which was great. Because I am able to ride on the, American Horror Story fame. And I was in first place for a while, but now I've slipped. And I think it's pretty obvious. The reason for that is because, some people, not me, and most likely not my people, but are purchasing votes. I'm not saying that can't be done. Actually, by the way, this vote, it's sponsored by the Veterans Yoga Project. And so basically they offer a free daily vote once a day. And that's my ask. That's what I've been sort of like, blowing up Paul and other pals to please, cast their one free daily vote a day. But there's also this thing called the warrior vote. And actually today is 2 for 1 if you're so inclined. Again, that's not been my ask yet. Like today, like here now is the only time I've even said as much. But the fact is those purchase votes actually benefit the veterans. So, if you're looking for a tax write-off, if you are just feeling philanthropic, if you have like a place for veterans in your heart and you want to do that, then knock yourselves out. But again, I really kind of want to win this the right way. And I don't think it can be done. Actually, at this point, I'm starting to be pessimistic, which is it's not my style. But anyway, I mean, well, listen, it's not over till it's over. You're right. There's 3 more days in this round. And so if people would, I would be so grateful to go. Actually, it's easiest if you just go to my Facebook page. I've got 2, a friend page and a fan page, either one. They're both the same. The fan is verified, so that way it's me. And just go down to the very first link that appears. It says IamYogaWarrior.com. And if people click on that, they can they'll basically see a picture of Pepper in the splits, and just below it, there's either that warrior vote, which, like I said, you're more than welcome to cast that if you like. Not my ask. The real ask is for that free daily vote. So, once a day, if you'll click on that and then you just follow the prompts and wait till you get that little, there's a red thing that says, you have cast your vote for Naomi Grossman. And then, your work is done and I can shut up for, 24 hours.
I, on the other hand, can ask you to go ahead and buy some votes because they're 2 for 1. Because I can speak from experience as far as yoga goes, because for me it was life-changing and transformational. I ended up losing about 65 pounds. I still have a long ways to go. And it motivated me to even start, my bad hombre yoga line, which I'm still, that's still one of the businesses that's in the works. But so I can attest to the power of yoga, and especially for men. And I would imagine, because it's not a thing that even though, it was invented in India. Well, it was actually invented, I think, in Santa Monica, California by white ladies. But then it went to India where it was mostly men. I know it was mostly men, but nowadays it seems to be that there aren't that many men doing it as much as they should. And especially if you have PTSD and you've been traumatized and are military men. So I think it's for a great cause. So if anybody wants to donate, or if you just want to sponsor, produce Naomi's show, send her a DM and then then we're done. But yeah, if you guys could, as a personal favor, also go over there and vote and at least do the free vote for the next, until the contest is over. I think we can at least give it the old college try because Naomi, I would love to see your show come to fruition and get made and produced and be on, these services because, and you're right, why not you? Everyone has an hour and you're so brilliant and so talented that the world, should not be denied this third part of your trilogy. So
yeah, well, thank you. I think, listen, the show will go on. The number 3 is happening with or without the yoga warrior. That would have been a nice, I'm a little sour grapes right now because I just kind of Google stalked all the other, unfortunately, mostly girls. You're right. Men should be doing this. But in my competition, and they're all like, oh, I want to, pay off my student loans. I want to pay for my teacher train. It's just boring. But I don't know. I feel like, but hey, it's going to happen one way or another. That's the good news. I don't care how. If I've got to, it's the avalanche is coming down the mountain. I'm just not sure how it's going to, when it's going to hit and how it's going to all go down, but it will happen.
But how exciting and how wonderful it would be if you could get most of it paid for by winning this $10,000 grant from.
That's what I thought. I like the meta idea of it. The show is a love letter to fans. It's basically it's me pre-Pepper, post-Pepper, becoming Pepper, and. I just know people line up at these Comic-Cons to hear us just run our mouths, in these totally uncurated Q&As. Wouldn't you like to see someone tell, spin these stories like a true raconteur, that have been thought through and crafted, and that's what this is. I'm really proud of this show. I think it's my best, and that's saying something. The other 2, I've got nominated for an LA Weekly Theater Award for the one. I got the LA Weekly Pick of the Week for the other. So it's great, and it needs to be seen, and it will be. Maybe not as. It's written. I wrote it in the pandemic. It saved my life, honestly.
Amazing. And what I wanted to say was also, you mentioned your fans, and I know a lot of celebrities. I know a lot of friends that have become celebrities, and you really, really go above and beyond to be available to your fans. Like I stalked you on Cameo, and most people are like, hey, this message goes out to whomever, blah blah blah. It's a 2-minute video. You go on for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, I don't know, 20 minutes. I mean, you really, really give to your fans. And I know they can also sometimes be a little off-putting and a little dangerous, I think. Maybe. I hope not. But, and you have to be careful. But I really love the fact that you make yourself available to your fans and to the people that love you. And there's so much love there. I read the reviews on Cameo, and they you go above and beyond for your fans. So thank you on behalf of.
I didn't realize that those were public.
The videos are public, and the reviews, of course, are public. And yeah. So unlike my other friend Andy Dick, who he has a few bad ones. He probably forgot to do the video. I don't know, but but yours are nothing but complimentary. So I think people.
My fans are so good to me, and I love them back. So
I saw on Instagram. I mean, you talked about fan art when we first started, but people giving you fan art at these, and you do. Since we've been chatting, you've done several of these Comic Cons where they fly you out, and but still you have to deliver. You have to be there, and you're one of the fan favorites. So that's amazing that you would do all that.
Well, I mean, again, if had it not been for the hustle, that's the whole theme of this new show. But had it not been for those 22 years that I was, grinding without a whole lot of results, I probably wouldn't appreciate it so much. But I remember driving the Red Bull car. I remember, dancing for money at bar mitzvahs. I remember slanging Spanish at the Playboy Mansion. Like, I remember posing nude in art classes. I remember, you know what I mean? Like, I hustled, and therefore, like the fact that somebody wants to pay my mortgage, signing my name and taking selfies. Yes, please. Like, of course I'm going to be nice to them. They're saving me from conjugating verbs.
Now, so, and I we're almost at the end of the show. Are either of your parents Latino? Do they speak Spanish, or?
They do. My dad lives in Uruguay.
Okay.
It's funny. I just sent him something at the post office, and the lady with her ginormous long nails, clickety clack, clack clack. Okay, one package to Hungary. I'm like, no, it's to Uruguay. And she's like,
well, I think it's pronounced Uruguay. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, you are gay. You are gay. Whatever. I say it the Spanish way, Uruguay. So she's like, yeah, Hungary. I'm like, no. Uruguay. Like, anyway, I taught her something. She now wants, I pulled up my phone. I showed her photos. She's like, I want to go there. Anyway, so yeah, my dad lives in Uruguay now. He maintains a place also in Buenos Aires in Argentina. My mom's in New Mexico in Taos. They were Peace Corps volunteers in Colombia. Like I'd mentioned at the very beginning. And I think that's probably where my wanderlustness comes from. But it's funny, when we're a family, I mean, we're not anymore, since they divorced, but, we always were such a weird, mismatch. Like, my dad he sounds like a Colombian, newscaster. Like, has an immaculate accent. My mom, on the other hand, sounds like George Bush. She's from Texas, and there's no getting around that. And then, I sound super cool in 1993. Whenever I'm in Argentina, people are like, oh my God, your Spanish is great, but super dated. Your slang is no one talks like that anymore, Naomi.
Pero sí, che. ¿Cómo es, y hoy, cómo es tu español?
Muy bueno, pero me tengo que ir. Veo que son las 5:30 y ya, me toca irme.
Ya. That's very Argentine. Ya, instead of ya. Ya me tengo que ir. Naomi, muchísimas gracias. People are like, what the? They just switched to Spanish. So Naomi,
sorry, that was me saying, oh snap, translation, I gotta go. I got somewhere else to be at 5:30. So thank you so much, Paul. I hope I didn't talk too long.
No. Please, everyone, let's give Naomi a round of applause. And Naomi, thank you so much for being here. Everyone loves you. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye, Naomi. I'm gonna leave the room open a little bit so I can tell them where to find your link again, because I want everyone to go there and vote for you and follow you on social media. And
it's not over till the Fat Ladies sing.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, folks, thank you guys.
Ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Vato.